How did you get involved in the story of the New Hope Sound Demon?
Yes, on the 24th of September in 1985, I was contacted by a Mrs. Allison Carlisle to assist her in investigating an incident that involved her daughters Missy and Teresa. Yes, so she brought me in to assist her in investigating this incident, which I believed had some sort of paranormal origin. I started with interviewing both of the daughters, uh, speaking with Missy about her process in which she would listen to these audio cassette tapes, which were eventually given to me by her mother. But she had these audio cassette tapes in which she listened to this frequency, which put her in this altered state of mind, where she would go into this altered state of mind and she would emerge not knowing what happened in between when she started and when it finished. In fact, that's how they got to the football stadium in the first place. Teresa walked in on Missy during one of these rituals, and the next thing both of them knew, they were both in their high school football stadium.
In your own words, could you say what happened with Missy and Teresa Carlisle on the night of August 20th, 1985?
Mm-hmm. The incident, yes, it was on the 20th of August that same year. Both of her daughters were found standing in their high school football stadium naked, with all of the lights on, and the sound system was blaring this static, this audio static.
Talk about the burn marks in the field. There's some discrepancy as far as what exactly they were.
Yes, so when the girls were found, their mother claimed that there were circular burn marks around where the two girls were standing in the field. But when I went the next day to the high school to investigate the field on the 26th of September, the burn marks were actually footprints in the turf of the football field, leading from one side of the football field all the way to where the two women were found standing.
Who do you think ZA is?
Well, to this day, we still don't really know. According to Missy at the time, ZA was her boyfriend who originally gave her the first audio cassette tape that allowed her to enter into this altered state. However, as the investigation moved forward, she eventually told me that he didn't exist. So to this day, we still don't really know who he was. And while I believe that there was no boyfriend, there was no ZA, I do think there's a slight possibility that maybe he was some sort of paranormal entity that gave her this tape that allowed her to enter into this altered state of mind. I think whoever ZA was coached Missy into making this tape, and then once he was gone, it was almost like he didn't exist anymore.
You're suggesting the phenomena Missy was able to produce were legitimately supernatural? Why is
I
that?
do I do believe they were supernatural. In fact, I only saw Missy do her ritual one time. I asked Missy if I could watch her listen to one of her tapes, and she allowed me to watch her go through the process. She allowed me into the room. She put on one of her cassette tapes. No. She tuned her radio to a frequency where it was nothing but static, and she didn't listen to a tape that night. In fact, when I asked her about it, she told me that she didn't need the tapes anymore to do whatever it was that she was doing. And she just laid there, listening to the static, and she told me something might not even happen, but eventually I started to see this strange moonlight-looking glow on her navel. And after I saw that glow, she asked me to take her hand, and when I took her hand for a brief moment out of the corner of my eye, I saw these two shadowy presence, this shadowy presence in the room with us. And I don't know if that shadow was some sort of paranormal entity that I could now see because I took her hand, or if it was just some sort of astral projection because of this altered state of mind that Missy found herself in. that shadow I only saw for a brief moment, but that shadow convinced me that whatever it was that she was seeing, whatever it was that she was doing, was paranormal in its origin.
Talk about Teresa's role in all this. Was she doing the same sorts of things as Missy?
At first, she was. On the 20th of August, that was the first time that Teresa ever saw Missy doing this ritual. She started doing her own process. In fact, there was one point where someone claimed that they saw Teresa walking through a cemetery holding what appeared to be a human head, and she was in her underwear. Eventually, we realized that it wasn't a human head, it was just a round, large rock that she was carrying. But of course, the town was in such a panic at the time that they believed it was a human head. She had a circular burn mark in her backyard, and these three rocks, one of which she told me was from the graveyard, but another one she told me that she got in a dream.
Neither of the sisters stayed in the community for very long after the incident on August 20th. As far as I could tell, Missy moved in with you and Teresa left after her high school graduation.
Well, much like...
How would you characterize the community's response to the Carlisle sisters?
This entire incident happened over the course of a few months, and everybody was aware, but people weren't talking about it directly. It was all very small town, passive aggressive. In fact, their local church was delivering sermons on satanic possession and demonic rituals and demon worshipping, and their peers were talking about it behind their back, which led to a lot of stress in both of the siblings. In fact, there was one incident in October where Officer Ward's daughter found the original ZA tape and played it over the loudspeakers at the football stadium, and this really got into the head of especially Missy at the time, Missy and Teresa. What I'm trying to say is the town's reaction was not positive and supportive.
Do you think your personal relationship with Missy compromised your findings in this case in any way?
Missy was just a person who I was investigating. The relationship with her didn't start until after the investigation was concluded. No, I don't believe so at all. That my current relationship with Missy affected my past investigation of what was happening to her.